Calaroga Shark Media.
Hi there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The Wall Street Journal asked Louis C.K. about when he started selling stand-up specials and tickets to fans directly, which came in handy when the entertainment world cut ties with C.K. They were curious, was that the business equivalent of being a doomsday prepper? Louis C.K. said, it's not the way I looked at it. I got to be a top guy all of a sudden. If I put a show on sale, it sold out. Didn't matter where. That's an incredible thing to experience, and I'm really curious about the way things work, so I thought, I'm on a perch here. How can I benefit the fans and get with them more directly? With the special I released, which was live at the Beacon Theater back in 2011, CK said, I just wanted them to be able to click and watch with a tiny bump of commerce, $5, and it was like $1 million in a week. I never had $1 million before. It was just crazy. And then all of a sudden I also had that email list. These are the premium leads. The entertainment industry has gotten really confusing and bifurcated. There's a lot of fear-based prohibition now and weird rules, but I don't have to live by any of those. I'm in a little bit of a closed circuit. There's a lot of people that don't know I'm working. I sold out Madison Square Garden and about 100,000 people bought the live stream. It was a huge night, but it was like a secret. There's something kind of amazing about being a secret superstar. The Journal asked if he wishes the TV show Louie were easier for people to rewatch or discover. CK said, it's on my website and people buy it steadily. Would I like it to be on a platform or something? Sure, but that ain't up to me. Is CK anywhere close to his 2017 earning level? Louis said, no. I was making stupid money and the things people were saying about me were bigger than reality and I didn't know how to handle it. Nobody does. Then that evaporated. Now I'm just more connected to just getting paid for what I do. If I can keep writing novels, I don't think I'll tour at this level. I really love my life now. I didn't used to, and going on the road takes me away from that life, so I think I'll take a long break after this tour, and if I come back to it, I'll come back to it in a smaller way. GQ asked Stephen Colbert prior to The Late Show, you played a character for a long time. How has it been spending the last 10 years as yourself? Colbert explained, yeah, it's pretty close. I mean, it's a performance persona. There are times when it's very close to me, especially if there's something that cannot receive a joke. There are things that will not receive the matrix of our desire to do comedy, and I choose not to talk about tragedy on my show because I think that's sacred. But there are things that are unavoidable that are happening in our country, and because I talk about what's happening in America today, I don't generally say or do things I don't mean on the show unless I'm in character, like in a sketch, whereas at the Colbert Report, it was almost nothing. Basically, it was Catholic and Lord of the Rings were the only two things that we had in common. I get that. I was talking with one of the trivia guys recently about this, and also I talk about this with my college class a lot. The Johnny Mac persona that you're listening to right now, for one, has a certain delivery. I don't speak like this in normal. I'm not like at trivia night, like, hey, Glenn, should we get a beer? Like, this isn't the way I talk. I'd be like, you want another one? Would be how I would normally speak. Professor McDermott is also a bit of a performance. I have to try and keep college students entertained for 2+ hours. So I get what Colbert is saying there. It's, an exaggerated version of your real self. He was asked how he looks back on the Stephen Colbert character from the Colbert Report. He said, fondly. I mean, it was enjoyable to do. A lot of people thought you couldn't sustain it, and I always thought I could because a mask is such a gift for me, at least as a performer, because really all my training in my entire career until I did that show was as an actor. And we had a Bible for the character. We kept a running Bible. What does he believe? What does he not believe? What's his back history? What's the relationship with other people? We were writing it as this ongoing narrative where nothing we did should be contradicted by other things we did for that character. I'm going to jump in there too. So when I ran the Raw Dog Comedy channel at Sirius, the station voice was Satan. It was my production guy, Sal DeLeo, using a voice processor, so it dropped his voice down and it was like, Sirius 104. He had used the Satan character in a promo, and I liked it, and I'm like, let's make that the station voice. But here, we also had a writer's guide or a Bible about it. The way I wrote the character was there was nothing satanic about it. As we wrote the character, Satan was a guy with a deep voice who's sure he's the devil, but the only reason he's working with us on Raw Dog is because we pay well. And he thought everything we did was stupid. So sometimes the bosses would make us promote things. I remember one time we had to promote Oprah Winfrey Radio, which I didn't think there was much of a crossover with the Raw Dog audience. Like if Raw Dog was a person, Raw Dog would have been classic Bill Burr. Not the current version, the young, angry version. That would have been Raw Dog had come to life. So the Satan character, for example, promoting Oprah Winfrey Radio would get about 2/3 of the way down to the mandated copy and just be like, oh, and throw out a piece of paper. And Sal would record the piece of paper hitting the wastebasket and then just leave dead air. And that was the way we handled things. GQ said, I forgot until recently. There was a moment when people thought you, Stephen Colbert, and Jon Stewart were going to save the Republic somehow. Colbert said, I promise you, we did not share that feeling, especially when reflecting back on the rally to restore sanity / march to keep fear alive. He was doing the rally to restore sanity. I was doing the march to keep fear alive, and I like to remind him that I won. We kept fear alive. Switching topics, what comedians is Colbert into? I celebrate all of them because I love comedy. I'm a huge fan of Dave Chappelle. I love Cat Williams. I guess I should have started a podcast. Now, the other day, I told you Stephen Colbert said he would not do a podcast. In this interview, he was asked, would he consider doing another podcast? He said, I would. And I'd love to do one with my daughters. I've got funny kids. My baby's 28 years old. She doesn't want to be in stand-up. But if she comes out on stage, people throw their purse in the air. She's got something, and people beg to see her in videos and all that. She likes money, so she might do a podcast with me if it meant money. So yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before, where I told you, write this down, Stephen Colbert will do another podcast? You wrote it down, right? Thank you. You're welcome. Friday, wax Jim Gaffigan's car. Jim, you've done 11 stand-up specials. How has the press tour evolved over time? Jim said, there's still the power of the late-night shows. Some of that is prestige, but a lot of it is the clips that come out in those appearances. Whether you're on The Tonight Show or Kimmel, notice he's not doing NBC 1230, make NBC 1230 great again. But obviously, the power of podcasts is significant. You end up getting very strategic about how you place these things. Even the outlet for a comedy special is always moving. I had 2 specials on Comedy Central, then I did one on my website, then I did a couple on Netflix, a couple on Amazon, and one on Hulu, which, as listeners to this show know, is where you go when you're on your way down. Sorry, Jim. Sorry to break it to you. It's always moving. Is Apple going to get into the business? Is Ellison going to buy HBO, and then they're going to compete with Netflix? It's constantly changing, so you have to guess ahead. But in some ways, the powerhouse now might be YouTube. That doesn't take anything away from how important Netflix is, or their paychecks, but comedians have become so successful by posting their specials on YouTube that it can actually allow them to go to Netflix. Jim was asked, besides eyeballs and money, what are the metrics you weigh when choosing which distributor to partner with? Time out. Here's who he chooses. Money. I guarantee you, money. Jim says, I see a special as harvesting crops. Money. You always want to be expanding your audience. Money. If I'm going to Baltimore or Denver every 2 years, I don't expect that the people who enjoy my stand-up are coming every 2 years. That's not realistic. Some of them are busy. Some don't have disposable income. You always want to be expanding the audience that enjoys your comedy. So when I first went to Amazon, money, I knew they had a reach that at that time Netflix didn't. With Hulu, money, I knew there were viewers who consumed a ton of stuff there, so why not spread the wealth? Money. It's easier for me to do that than someone like Dave Chappelle who's getting a huge check. He doesn't have to factor in, maybe I can get more people. Stop, Jim. Stop. You mean to tell me that if, I don't know, Amazon Prime goes, hey, Jim, new special, $20, and Netflix goes $30, you're picking Amazon Prime? Get lost. Jim, what excites you about the future? He said, it's an exciting time for creative people. I know things are scary, but I think that translates to a certain independence. Creative people who are self-starters are going to be fine. Most incredibly, Jim didn't promote his bourbon in any of that. I remember that Jeff Dye guy. He was on Joe Rogan's show. Jeff Dye said, I'm sympathetic to the things female comics have to go through. Then Dye and Rogan started talking about DEI-style mandates within the field. Joe Rogan said, they've literally said, we have too many white male comics. Jeff Dye said, I've heard it my whole career. Yeah. I mean, I don't book comedy shows. But are people really saying, no, we have too many white male comics? Because, I don't know, I pay attention to the comedy scene, and there seem to be a lot of white male comics, no? Jeff Dye said, someone comes out and goes, listen, if you're a straight white guy, you better be real different. It's Boston, we're all straight white guys. That kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. What does that imply about my circumstances? Apparently, an agent told Jeff Dye. The agent was praising one of the agent's other clients. Apparently, the agent told Jeff Dye, he has all these great things that make him interesting to the industry. I think you're going to have to reinvent yourself. Rogan said, that's just Hollywood. We don't do that in Texas, in the mothership. It's a meritocracy, and because it's a meritocracy, it's very diverse. You got a lot of women in the lineup. You got all kinds of people. Rogan said, the vast majority of comics at my club are left-wing. They're artists. I'll tell you who's got a great agent or PR team. Leanne Morgan. Her whole team gets it done. Now she was on the Today Show. The topic, how her show Leanne was renewed for a second season. Leanne said, Jerry Seinfeld called me the day it came out. He said, you have a sitcom with your name on it, which is unheard of. You were in there with Bob Newhart, Mary Tyler Moore, Lucille Ball. All right, tap the brakes. I mean, yes, congratulations. Very successful, 8-episode season 1? Can we tap the brakes before we start comparing you to Lucille Ball? I mean, for example, Richard Lewis had a show called Anything But Love. That got more than a year. We don't talk about that one much. So before we put you in the pantheon with Newhart, Mary Tyler Moore, and Lucille Ball, tap the brakes, Jerry. Veer Oz told Forbes, I would never call myself edgy. I think any comedian that refers to themselves as edgy or uncancelable, putting these things on themselves, you see a lot in America. I think they're in trouble as an artist anyway, and those guys are usually the first to fold, in my experience. Comics just keep writing jokes, and you call us what you feel the freedom to call us. We're just thinking about the next show, so no, I wouldn't call myself any of those things. It's not my privilege, it's yours. I don't think controversy is adding any currency in art. I don't. I think it's a trap. Then you're constantly going to be chasing that, but I also don't think you can predict what'll get you into controversy. It's the thing you never thought of. Fred Armisen will be honored with the Ernie Kovacs Award at Dallas Video Fest today at the Texas Theater in Dallas. The Ernie Kovacs Awards, introduced in 1997, honors television's greatest visionaries. Past recipients include Joel Hodgson, Al Franken, and Terry Gilliam. Fred Armisen said, "I'm absolutely honored to be part of Ernie Kovacs' world in any way." And that is your comedy news for today. I'll meet you back here tomorrow.